In the 21st century, social media has become an inseparable part of many people's lives. Every day, billions of people enter the digital landscape of platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, sharing their experiences, emotions, and moments that later become part of the online archive of memories. On the one hand, these platforms make it easier to maintain contacts, share aspirations, or pursue passions. On the other hand, they affect our interpersonal relationships in an increasingly complex way. The increase in the number of divorces, which at the beginning of 2024 was between 40 and 50% for first marriages in the US, seems to correspond disturbingly with the spreading use of social media. In this article, aiming to answer the question, how can social media act as a silent killer of marriages? We will look not only at statistics, but also at the causes and mechanism of the functioning of relationship disorders. Segment 1. Social platforms and unrealistic expectations. Creating perfect images. One of the key phenomena in social media is the phenomenon of idealized life. Users, influencers, and celebrities present moments of happiness, beautiful holidays, idyllic family dinners, or romantic suppers. Often, however, these images are just a fragment of reality, carefully embellished with filters and photo editors. As social psychologist Natalia Kowalska writes, comparing life to the ideal images we see online can lead to a serious crisis in the perception of our own life. In the age of social media, the impression that someone else's life is much better than ours can cause growing anxiety. How does this affect real relationships? It happens that partners in a relationship start to see their time together as just an attempt to keep up with other couples on the internet. Why aren't we doing a date like them? Why doesn't our trip look like theirs? These types of thoughts start to eat away at the foundations of the relationship, leading to tension and arguments. When a relationship becomes a battlefield for the approval of external standards, a wall is built between partners that makes it difficult to have honest emotions and closeness. As a result, we gain relationships that instead of being a source of support, become a source of stress and frustration. Psychologists have been pointing out the destructive effects of social comparisons for years. Media users, regardless of age, struggle with a chronic sense of dissatisfaction. I feel like I live in the shadow of all my Facebook friends who post photos of their ideal vacations. We're stuck in the same apartment all the time, and I don't know what to do to make our lives more exciting, shares Kasia, whose marriage went through a crisis after many months of comparisons with idealized images of friends. Jealousy becomes an independent entity, born from everyday comparisons. Partners begin to wonder why they don't have a life as exciting as the one they see online. Questions arise. Is she really happy? Does she notice that we don't have such holidays? Why don't we spend time like they do in those photos? These are natural feelings that grow out of fear for relationships. Over time, these inappropriate comparisons lead to a distorted impression that partners are not good enough, which ultimately leads to problems in relationships. Social psychology and relationship research point to a cycle of negative emotions that arise from comparisons. Low levels of satisfaction with personal life translate into toxic relationships. Studies also show that those who spend more time on social media are more susceptible to depression and relationship stress. When one partner is overwhelmed by a sense of inadequacy, isolation becomes a natural defense mechanism, notes psychotherapist Anna Marciniak. To break this cycle, emotional and communicative honesty is a critical step. Talking about feelings and needs together, admitting fears, and discovering shared moments of joy can greatly improve the situation. Limiting the time spent on social media is also important, which can help regain perspective on what really matters: closeness and understanding of the other person. Social media, although it offers many benefits, can also act as a silent killer of marriages, building unrealistic expectations and a sense of dissatisfaction. It is important to be able to recognize this mechanism and implement changes that will allow for rebuilding the bond in the relationship. Citizens of the 21st century must understand that true happiness is not about perfect photos, but about authentic emotions, warmth, and understanding. After all, what we often find in online relationships is just the tip of the iceberg. behind it lies the everyday life from which we create our most beautiful memories. The psychological costs of social media. Modern social media has become an integral part of our lives, offering new ways to interact, communicate, and form relationships. However, as its influence grows, psychologists are beginning to recognize that it can also have negative consequences, including confusion over our perceptions of identity, emotional withdrawal, and the disruption of authentic interpersonal relationships. Drawing on a growing body of research, I will present key psychological costs associated with social media use, as well as personal stories from couples who have experienced the negative impact of these platforms on their relationships. One of the most important aspects of the problem is the growing need for validation, which is fueled by social media. Many people use platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok to gain approval in the form of likes or comments. Instead of seeking to maintain emotional closeness in a relationship, partners often direct their expectations towards virtual interactions. The key issue is why so many of us seek to satisfy our emotional needs through virtual life. We model unhealthy patterns in relationships, which leads to shallow closeness and distorted perceptions of self-worth. Despite physical closeness to our partners, many people experience a deep sense of isolation. It is a paradoxical situation. We are surrounded by people, but we are unable to notice their presence in reality. People addicted to social media often do not notice that their everyday interactions with their partners are being replaced by virtual relationships and friendships. As a number of studies show, it is precisely such disharmony in relationships that can lead to a sense of emotional emptiness and identity crises. In this part of the article, I would like to share the stories of couples who decided to talk about their experience with the impact of social media on their relationships. Many of these couples chose to remain anonymous, feeling that their personal problems were too sensitive to be revealed publicly. Their stories use an example of a real resistance to media illusion and comparison. Katarzyna begins her story from the moment she began using social media intensively. It started with small comments and posts that made me feel like I was someone online. Michał became more and more distant. I couldn't understand why our relationship suddenly started to break down, she says. As time went on, her social life began to depend on online interactions. Michał noticed that his emotional needs were not being met. Finally, after many difficult moments, the couple decided to go to therapy. Katarzyna admits that in therapy, they began to discover how addicted they were to social media, including all the problems that resulted from it. Julia noticed that as she scrolled through social media, she began to compare herself and her partner to other couples. Seeing that many of her friends seemed to lead perfect lives, began to intensify her feelings of inadequacy. I felt like we were never exciting enough. This started to lead to misunderstandings and arguments. Eventually, I admitted my concerns to Artur, but this caused an even bigger crisis in our relationship, she confessed. Artur adds that from the moment Julia started comparing them to others, he felt angry and frustrated because he couldn't understand her expectations. They both decided to talk about it together, but the road to repairing their relationship was long. The stories of Katarzyna, Michał, Julia, and Artur are just a few of many examples of how social media can affect real relationships. Identity concerns, the need for validation, and a growing sense of isolation are among the main issues that need to be addressed in order to repair relationships. It is important that we become aware of what is happening behind the screen, as well as where our true intimacy and emotional safety should lie in relationships. Dialogue, understanding, and prevention are key to creating healthier relationships in the age of social media. In the age of digitalization and constant access to information, social media has become an integral part of our lives. While they can be a source of inspiration and support, they also bring many challenges, especially in the context of romantic relationships. It is worth remembering, however, that there are many ways to protect your relationship from the negative effects of using these platforms. Here are some proven steps that can help strengthen your relationship. The first step you should take is to develop some common rules for using social media. Here are some suggestions. Time boundaries. Decide how much time you want to spend on social media each week. Also, set smartphone-free times when you can interact with each other without interruptions. Offline time together. Take a break from social media to focus on being together. This could be a walk together, cooking together, or a board game night. It's worth making a rule that phones stay in pockets during these activities. A key element of any successful relationship is communication. Regular conversations about how social media affects your relationship are incredibly important. Here's how you can do it. Express your feelings. If you feel that social media is negatively affecting your relationship, speak up. Discuss exactly what is bothering you and how you can change it. Be honest. If one of you feels hurt by the other person's online actions, e.g., commenting on other people's photos, it's important to talk about it in a non-accusatory but constructive way. In the age of the internet, it's easy to forget the value of real experiences. Instead of focusing on how perfect your online life looks, try investing in real shared experiences. Consider these ideas. Have a Valentine's Day every weekend. Once a week, set aside time just for yourself. It could be a romantic dinner, a trip to the cinema, or a trip to a new place. Do something creative together. Choose a project that you can do as a team. It could be painting, cooking a new dish, or even writing a blog together. Such activities bring people together and at the same time allow them to get to know each other better. Participate in social events. Join your local community and participate in events that interest you. This could be volunteering, taking a dance class, or meeting up with friends. This will strengthen your bonds and also add a new quality to your relationship. Social media is an integral part of modern life, but its impact on relationships can be twofold. The key to building a healthy and strong relationship is awareness, understanding, and the right approach to using these platforms. Establishing rules together, open communication, and investing in real, quality moments together are fundamental steps that will help you not only protect your relationship, but also make it even stronger. Remember that relationships require constant work, and implementing the above tips will certainly pay off in the long run. In summary, social media can both strengthen and weaken our interpersonal relationships. The key to achieving harmony in this sphere of life is the ability to use these platforms consciously and actively seek a balance between the virtual world and real bonds. Let's remember that what really counts are our emotions, understanding, and closeness, both online and in reality. Let's be aware of our actions online, and let social media become a tool for us that supports our relationships, not destroys them.